Hello, everyone. Thanks for joining me. I'm Sophie Alexander of the Nutritional Wellness Center. Today, I'm going to be talking to you all about infertility and barriers to fertility. This is a really important topic, and I'm excited to share tools that I have. It's because this is something I've been very successful with in clinical practice, and it's something that's just so devastating when folks are struggling with infertility. So just some background about me. If you don't know me as a practitioner, I'm the owner and lead practitioner of the Nutritional Wellness Center, and it was really my own health journey that got me to doing this work. I struggled with environmental allergies and blood sugar issues and digestive issues from like a young age, but it wasn't really until in college I was like, something's really not right here. And then especially when I got Lyme disease just after graduating from undergraduate school. And then I had to find my way to alternative medicine because conventional medicine just didn't make any difference. I caught the Lyme late. I had really chronic joint issues with it and wasn't getting answers and wasn't getting better. But with nutrition response testing, and that's why I'm so passionate about this particular way of taking care of bodies, it very quickly helped me get to the bottom of the digestive issues, blood sugar balance, hormonal balance in terms of like no menstrual cramps. And it took longer in terms of working on the Lyme piece because that was a more chronic issue, but absolutely helped there as well. And made such a big difference in my 3 pregnancies and getting pregnant and supporting those pregnancies and having healthy children. So I'm excited to be here today sharing with you what I know and what I see. So the big question is, why are you not getting pregnant? And there are just so many reasons someone can be experiencing trouble conceiving. And what we found in the world of nutrition response testing is that anything can cause anything. And what we really need to find out is what's causing it for you. So, you made this big decision, you want to have a child or you want to have, more children, you've already have one, and body suddenly is not cooperating. And infertility is really a rising problem today. Around 1 in 10 couples worldwide have difficulty getting pregnant. And I see a lot of reasons for that, and I will really be going into that today. Because infertility doesn't play favorites, can happen to either sex at any age, and there can just be so many reasons behind it, which is what can make it so daunting in terms of trying to figure it out. So as I was saying earlier, 8 to 12% of the population struggles to conceive, and that number is a bit higher for women over the age of 35. Women in their 30s are about half as fertile as women in their early 20s, and women's chance of conception declines significantly after age 35. Male fertility also declines with age, but it's more gradual unless illness or injury plays a role. So there can be many causes, as I keep saying, but some common causes are early menopause, and this is all for women, right? Endometriosis, fallopian tube blockage or damage, ovulation disorders, pelvic adhesions, or uterine or cervical abnormalities. Oh gosh, I cannot say that word today. Abnormalities. There we go. And for men, it can be abnormal sperm production or function or problems with sperm delivery, right? And that would be, I would say, your more conventional approach to understanding this issue and how to go about addressing it. But I see toxicity as a huge factor. So I see the rising levels of glyphosate in the food supply and the fact that it permeated our environment, heavy metal toxicity, radioactive elements, which tend to be higher in the water in areas where there's oil drilling and fracking, mitochondrial dysfunction, which is usually caused by the stress from all these toxicities, Lyme disease, irregular menstruation that can come from all the barriers to correct hormone balance due to these toxicities, and mold toxicity, right? So all of these mess with cellular function, they mess with liver function, as I'll be talking about more. and thus they severely impact hormone balance. And they create a dynamic in the body where I would say the body is giving you feedback, like it doesn't want to get pregnant. It's not a safe space to get pregnant and to carry a child. Um, and 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 so reducing these things makes a huge difference. But let me still be a little bit more technical for a little while. So just to help you understand the role of hormones in fertility, there are two hormones, luteinizing hormone and follicle stimulating hormone, which tell your ovaries when to release eggs. And then there are other hormones, progesterone, prolactin play such an important role. And when these hormones are out of balance, ovulation may not occur at all or occurs less often. You just don't have that regularity of knowing that that's the time to get pregnant. Estrogen dominance can also play a role in hormone imbalance. Estrogen is the dominant hormone in the first half of your menstrual cycle, if I'm speaking to you as a woman, right? Until ovulation when you're having regular cycles. After ovulation, progesterone rises while estrogen falls. Progesterone then decreases and menstruation occurs, right? So the ratio of these two hormones is critical. When you hear estrogen dominance, you can have too much estrogen, or you can have normal estrogen, but too little progesterone. Either way, the imbalance creates the same problems. And so estrogen dominant symptoms include premenstrual mood changes, painful or lumpy breasts, insomnia, premenstrual headaches and migraines, anxiety, and then we see infertility, recurrent miscarriage, and unexplained weight gain. And that's just because progesterone is just such an important piece in getting pregnant and supporting a healthy pregnancy. So when we want to manage estrogen dominance, again, we're back at the liver. Supporting your liver is so important. The liver metabolizes estrogen appropriately and efficiently. So avoiding these toxins I was just talking about, and I will get more into tools about how to do that. And then alcohol also really stresses the liver and stresses its clearance of things. Managing stress levels is huge, right? Because this helps to balance cortisol, one of the main stress hormones. And cortisol dominates all, right? So if there's high levels of cortisol going on, then your whole hormonal cascade from that point onward is thrown off. And your body really prioritizes making cortisol instead of making sex hormones. And this is whether male or female, you're going to have low sex hormones if cortisol is dominating. Managing insulin levels is significant for managing estrogen dominance. So having what we call a low glycemic diet, a diet low in refined sugars and refined carbohydrates, foods that give a nice steady rise to blood sugar and a low curve, not a quick spike to blood sugar. And avoid the chemical estrogens. A lot of them are in plastics, they're in cosmetics and toiletries. So really, it's just not a catchphrase saying go organic, right? Limiting our pesticide exposure and not heating foods in plastics and microwaves, not using soft plastics really makes a difference in terms of hormone balance, and particularly when there's an issue of estrogen dominance. Some foods that build estrogen, because estrogen is really important. So I want to, because when there's estrogen dominance, it's usually a buildup or a talk of what we call toxic estrogen. This is a complicated topic, but there's just different kinds of estrogen. But we do want to eat foods that nourish our good estrogens, and that's flax seeds and sesame seeds, hummus, garlic, berries, and cruciferous vegetables. The cruciferous vegetables particularly also support the liver and the liver's detoxification phases. But progesterone is one as I was saying, so important for a healthy pregnancy. It helps prepare the uterus for implantation of a fertilized egg, and it helps to maintain pregnancy. Regulates blood pressure, it improves mood and sleep. Progesterone supports early pregnancy, right? And I said, it helps maintain a continued pregnancy, right? If there's a lot of miscarriage issues, it's usually due to low progesterone. It develops mammary glands during pregnancy in preparation for lactation. It decreases uterine contraction to prevent contractions during pregnancy. And it decreases activity in the intestines, which sometimes can cause constipation, right? Which some pregnant women deal with. So low progesterone in women may cause irregular or absent menstrual cycles, mood changes, particularly anxiety or depression, hot flashes, night sweats, vaginal dryness, headaches or migraines in women who aren't pregnant. Pregnant women need progesterone to maintain their uterus until the baby's born. And if progesterone levels are too low, baby might not be carried to term, or you might have spotting. Super, super important. We want to have support our progesterone. So managing it, right? We want to increase our vitamins B and C, eating more foods with zinc, such as shellfish, and controlling stress again, right? This is a big one that is a bit of a beast, because when your body releases cortisol, it's not going to be making progesterone. Foods that build progesterone, and I usually encourage women, particularly women who are cycling regularly and are trying to support optimal progesterone balance, that these are really great foods to have, particularly in the second part of the cycle. Bear with me, I'm just trying to do something here. In the second part of the cycle, having foods that build progesterone can really help, especially if you are, a cycling woman trying to get pregnant and dealing with any of those low progesterone symptoms that I just talked about, right? You're dealing with, you don't totally know when you're ovulating. You're dealing with spotting or short cycle or irregular cycles, dealing with anxiety or depression. Eating these foods can help. So that's pumpkin, beans, squash, tropical and citrus fruits, nuts and seeds. The cruciferous vegetables, again, keeps bringing us back to how important the liver is for healthy hormone balance, and grass-fed beef and meat in general. Testosterone is important too, and right now I'm talking about testosterone and the role of women's hormone balance, but it's we do have our testosterone moment in our cycles, and it's made in the ovaries and in our adrenal glands, and it's a big part of the sex drive leading up towards ovulation and helps produce the hormones we need during our menstrual cycle. And when it's low, we can have decreased sex drive, can be another piece of the infertility puzzle. Or if it's off enough, irregular absence of menstrual periods, which is known as amenorrhea. Low testosterone can cause by long-term use of oral contraceptives. And this is something that I think a lot of women, I was self-included, don't realize how much the impact of taking oral birth control long-term can really impact your hormone balance. And I was one of those young women at ages 16 went on birth control, or roughly around there. I was having such horrific menstrual cramps. I was missing school, so painful. And so one of doctor recommended I try birth control, and it did help, right? I stopped having these horrible menstrual cramps. It's boosted progesterone artificially. And then just without even thinking about it, I was on it for a good 10 years, right? And then we have this expectation that we can just go off and get pregnant, go off the birth control and just easily get pregnant when we want to. And that doesn't always happen because it was not addressing the root cause of why I was dealing with such terrible menstrual cramps and the hormonal imbalances and the liver imbalances that were going on there. And then for 10 years, the body is just in this alternate functioning. And then you take that away and it's like, oh, what's going on? There's a lot of rebalancing that needs to happen. Low testosterone could also be caused by getting older, right? Ovarian failure or removal of both ovaries. So now we're going to switch back to some other hormonal disruptors, really things that having you understand this idea and understanding how much of a role they play on disrupting hormone balance and thus impacting infertility. So endocrine disruptors are harmful substances found in our food, water, and many everyday products. They are chemicals that can disrupt our hormones. And there's no end to the tricks that hormone disruptors play on our bodies. They can increase the production of certain hormones. They can decrease the production of others. They can imitate hormones. They can turn one hormone into another. They can interfere with hormone signaling. They can tell cells to die prematurely. They can compete with essential nutrients. They can bind to important hormones, and then they can accumulate in organs that produce hormones. And to me, this is why it's so significant to be aware of your toxic burden, actively working on your toxic burden. And I will get into more of that too soon. And just understanding how you really need to look at your food, how clean is your water, and your self-care products, your beauty products. These are all the biggest, and how much plastic are you using, especially related to food and water. So these are the common hormone disruptors. You may have heard of some of these on this list. BPA and dioxin, atraxine, and phthalates, right? A lot of people talk about those in terms of soaps and shampoos and personal care products, but it can be in our furniture too, our mattresses, these forever chemicals that are just around and are in the bodies even of people who are actively trying to avoid them. But thank goodness they're there at a lower degree. So I do strongly believe that these choices that you can make in terms of buying organic, filtering your water, buying clean beauty, all make a huge difference. And so then we're going to get into some other things that contribute to hormone imbalance and that I see in practice significantly contribute to when folks are struggling to get pregnant. It's going to be having a poor diet, nutrition, actual nutrient depletion, not getting enough of what the body needs to correctly run, being overweight, poor liver detoxification, gut dysbiosis. That means an imbalance in the microbiome, an overgrowth of bacteria and parasites and things that should not be in the bowel, and thus there's poor nutrient absorption, to say the least. The constipation ties in with that, right? There are many reasons for constipation, but it means that you're not effectively clearing out everything that the body wants to be clearing out through the bowel. And that's a big place where hormones are cleared out from the liver, that's put into the bowel. And so estrogen can be recirculated and toxicities can be recirculated if you're dealing with constipation. Chronic stress and inflammation, I've spoken about that quite a bit. There can be stealth infections that drive up inflammation, that impact the liver, that impact constipation. The mitochondrial dysfunction is huge, not only impacting fatigue, but it literally impacting the means at the cellular level. Your mitochondria are what are in your cells that help you make energy. And when they are not functioning properly, your cells are not functioning properly. And at that cellular level, then we have dysfunction that just impacts the entire body in terms of dysregulating all sorts of functions, and hormone balance being a big one of those. So endocrine disruptors, and a big endocrine disruptor too can be mold, the mycotoxins from mold, as well as all the plastics I've been talking about. Pesticides and herbicides, hormonal replacement or birth control, and misuse of anabolic steroid medications. Now we'll switch to talking a little bit more about men. To get one's partner pregnant, men must have healthy sperm. The sperm have to be carried into the semen, and there has to be enough sperm in the semen, and the sperm must be functional and able to move. And the causes for male infertility are so similar to women. We're all in this toxic soup, and it's impacting us so significantly. So industrial chemicals, cause male infertility: heavy metal exposure, radiation or x-rays, overheating of the testicles, any kind of drug use, alcohol use, tobacco smoking, being overweight, having experienced trauma to the testicles, or having a history of undescended testicles, right? These can all be barriers to fertility for men. Some supplements that boost sperm quality: zinc, acetyl L-carnitine, coenzyme Q10, lycopene, vitamin C, vitamin E, and vitamin B12. But speaking of that, and that being what my little segue, I do want to get into some more fertility tools, less focusing on the depressing aspects of all these things mounting up against us. What action can we take? So a roadmap to a healthy pregnancy: and eating the right foods, taking the right supplements, detoxifying your body before pregnancy, and minimizing stress. So one thing that can really help is tracking your cycle. If you're a woman and you don't do this yet, I highly recommend it. It can help you see patterns in moon changes. It can help you understand frequency and length. It can get you more in tune for your actual ovulation window. And then a big one that people don't talk about a lot in terms of infertility, but is taking care of your gut health. When your gut health isn't optimal, hormones become imbalanced. There really is a lot more talk about that these days, of how significant estrogen balance, and then, how significantly the role the microbiome plays in estrogen regulation. And the studies indicate that poor gut health increase the risk of estrogen-related diseases. And this can be polycystic ovarian syndrome, endometriosis, breast cancer, as well as infertility and other symptoms of estrogen dominance. Lowering your sugar intake always makes such a significant impact on any health concern that you are dealing with. But for just tying back to what we were just talking about, it really plays a role in your gut microbiome. Sugar feeds the bad stuff, the things that we don't want living in our microbiome, and that don't properly help us break down estrogens and recycle them move them out of the body. And for sure, it plays a role in blood sugar regulation, right, which impacts stress hormone management. And that plays, as I was talking about earlier, plays such a role in sex hormone production as well. So I was talking about earlier, trying stress reduction techniques can be really powerful. The hormone cortisol is known as the stress hormone because it helps your body cope with long-term stress. Your body's response to stress activates a cascade of events that leads to cortisol production. And once the stressor is passed, that response ends, right? But we, in this modern world, don't have that like, oh, okay, I have immediate stress response and then I calm back down again, right? We tend to be constantly in fight or flight, constantly dealing with stress and a stress response. And we just don't have that feedback mechanisms where we go back and don't have cortisol surging. And as I mentioned earlier, cortisol dominates when your body's producing that, is not producing other sex hormones. And really we can see in time with chronic stress that because there are so many endocrine disruptors and estrogen mimickers and things like that, that women tend to have a lot more estrogen, poor clearance of estrogen, and then minimal progesterone, particularly because of the high cortisol. So avoiding GMO foods can be significant in terms of tools for infertility. Dairy, meat, pork come from cows and pigs treated with hormones and genetically modified foods, and this contributes to liver stress, contributes to hormonal imbalance. Long-term ingestion of GMO foods that are sprayed with pesticides have caused hormonal issues that have been linked to depression, infertility, PCOS, and cancer. So I say as a first step, starting to eat a food with little to no GMO foods that are rich in local and organic produce, grass-fed, local meat is a huge piece of restoring hormone balance. I tell people to avoid soy. Soy and soy products have been touted as health food for decades, but I don't agree. Soy consumption is linked to thyroid issues such as hypothyroidism and goiter, autoimmune thyroid disease. If eaten unfermented, soy has anti-nutrients that block the absorption of calcium, magnesium, iron, and zinc. So eating as little as 2 tablespoons, of soybeans per day for a month can significantly increase thyroid stimulating hormones, which is a sign of sluggish thyroid. So if you are going to have soy, I recommend fermented soy, whether that be miso or tempeh. But because soy is so highly sprayed with glyphosate, and in the United States, you'll find if you start reading labels, it's in everything. There's soy oil used, or just start reading labels and you'll see so much soy snuck into things that you would not think there would be soy in. And you can see how easy it is to get too much of it. So we were talking earlier about how important our livers are, and eating more liver is really important too. Liver is the most nutrient dense food that you can eat. So it can help curb PMS and mood swings. It can increase energy and improve cardiovascular stamina. Some people might think it's totally crazy to eat liver each day. And if you're one of those people, you can take it in supplement form. There are some companies that are very careful about grass-fed meat that, to put dried liver into capsules for those of us who don't want to eat it. Fish oil plays a big role in healthy hormone balance. Omega-3 fatty acids, which are the fatty acids dominant in fish oil, are used in hormone production and function. Because our bodies need these essential building blocks to prevent hormone conditions, research is finding that supplementation with omega-3 is effective in preventing and treating hormone-related diseases, especially in women. So that helps me segue into some of the supplements and support for female-male hormones that I use in my practice all the time in supporting folks who are struggling with fertility. And speaking of fish oil, the first one listed here is tuna omega-3 oil from Standard Process. I love this product. It supports skin and hair health. It supports eyes. It supports fetal eye and brain development. I find it's very calmative. It supports emotional balance. I have some clients who take it right before bed, and it greatly calms their nervous system and helps them sleep well. And I think Standard Process is a very ethical company that makes great quality products. Simplex F from Standard Process is what I can call our female hormone multivitamin. So it supports normal hormone balance in the many stages of women's lives. It supports the healthy function of the ovaries and the adrenals, the pituitary, the thyroid glands. It's a very uniquely derived product that supports cellular health of all these organs and glands. And so I use it, to support hormone balance in women, to support the ovaries, to support the adrenals, use it as a really great baseline to make sure all those systems are being nourished. And then there's a form for men, Simplex M, and this one is specific to supporting the testes, but also the adrenals, the pituitary, and the thyroid. All these systems are interconnected. They all work together, and all provide this foundational body support so that the body has the right nutrients to repair itself and function optimally. I love Estro from Cellcore. It's a newer product and quickly becoming one of my favorites for helping with estrogen dominance. I have a colleague who never really used to know that she was ovulating, and she started taking estro, and a couple months later, she knew when she was ovulating. She had been struggling to get pregnant for years, and had just previous to taking estro, gotten pregnant, but then thought maybe that was her miracle baby. But with starting estro and knowing when she was ovulating, she was able to get pregnant again, and that was in her early 40s. So estro contains a proprietary blend of adaptogenic herbs. These are herbs that support stamina and resiliency and adaptability to stress. Includes ashwagandha root, astragalus root extract, maca root, pine pollen, and turmeric root. And this blend supports healthy estrogen and testosterone levels in both men and women. Find it's great for supporting people at all stages, right? I've had postmenopausal women who feel so much better on estro, or sleeping better, body composition, better temperature regulation. But I've also had many women who are younger women dealing with menstrual irregularities or menstrual cramps, headaches with their cycle. They've all gotten so much better with estro. I see it as a great liver detoxer and moving all that toxic estrogen out of the body. And so by supporting the endocrine system and hormonal balance, estro promotes bone density, fertility, healthy libido, healthy metabolism, improved digestion, mood support, normal adrenal stress response, and skin health. So I got some resources, because there is so much more to talk about with this topic, and I think having these books are great references that you can go back to and refer to and use to encourage you along the way. There's the Better Baby book, How to Have a Healthier, Smarter, Happier Baby, by Lana Asprey and David Asprey. You might know the name Dave Asprey. He's famous for his bulletproof coffee and bulletproof diet. But it's a great resource, and it all came from their personal story of Lana struggling to get pregnant. And then a favorite book of mine that I used through all my pregnancies and recommend to every client that's thinking about getting pregnant or is pregnant is the Nourishing Traditions Baby Book, Book of Baby and Child Care, by Sally Fallon Morell, who's the president of the Weston A. Price Foundation, and Thomas Cowan, who's a doctor on the board of the Weston A. Price Foundation. And it just has lots of holistic advice, and has even baby food recipes, and takes you through all the stages of what to eat while pregnant, and how to take care of your baby, what to feed your baby. Wonderful resource. And then there's what I do, right? The nutrition response testing. And I find nothing that can help as much when it comes to infertility, because it really gets to the root cause. Nutrition response testing is a non-invasive system to assist the practitioner to assess the underlying causes of ill health. And so we're monitoring neurological reflexes and the health status, and asking questions of why is the body not wanting to get pregnant, right? And a lot of the patterns and themes that I see, I've just shared with you through this talk. But I find, as I said right in the beginning, anything can cause anything. And it's really what's going on with the individual and figuring that out, right? One of my favorite stories is it's actually, she works with me now, right? But back before she did, or maybe she was just starting to work with me, I had a woman who had been struggling to get pregnant for 6 years. And we did the initial nutrition response testing, and it showed up with her thyroid being really tired and sluggish. She was already on thyroid medication, but thyroid was still showing as being unhappy due to a toxicity. And we started supporting that toxicity from nutrition, like supporting the body, clearing it out. And we started supporting the thyroid with nutrition as well. And it just shocked us, because she was pregnant within 6 weeks. And it was like, oh my gosh. And she was such a happy, healthy girl. It was such so it's stories like that just are so rewarding for me as a practitioner, and why, excuse me, so important for me to share how important this work can be. We have other tools in our office. Particularly, we've brought in recently the Ion Cleanse Detox Foot Bath because of the rising level of toxicities, and just finding that people need more help clearing these tools out. The accumulation of toxic substances in the body just worsen any condition that we're trying to support, and really shut the body down. And the Ion Cleanse Detox Foot Bath is just so gentle. My kids do it, but it's effective. You sit for 30 minutes and with your feet in the ionized water, and it's amazing to see like what gets pulled out of the body, and particularly from the liver meridians and the toxic metal accumulation that we can see coming out of the body. And I really see folks who do it regularly, it accelerates their progress. We also offer PEMF therapy. So that stands for pulsed electromagnetic field therapy. And we use this tool to help with the cellular rejuvenation that's needed, right? The mitochondrial support that is needed in so many cases where the body is just so tired and stressed from the burden of everything that all the imbalances that it's dealing with. But PEMF therapy has so much research behind it. It's been shown to decrease pain, increase microcirculation within minutes, reduce stress of the body, and improve sleep patterns, faster healing of soft tissue, reduced inflammation and swelling, accelerated nerve regeneration. Had one client whose neuropathy is getting so much better by regular use of it, improved immune response. I consider it the true 30-minute power nap, because you're lying on this mat for 30 minutes and it's doing all this work to rejuvenate your cells, and it's very restorative. We are also bringing in an infrared sauna too. So that's another wonderful tool to be looking forward to and be hearing about in terms of supporting detoxification pathways. So if you are struggling to get pregnant, please reach out to us. We are here to help. And we really look forward to hearing from you and making a difference in your health. Thanks for joining me today.